and good day. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Jewel. I'm the creator of Jewellz Closette, which is a sewing and alterations business, and the founder of the slow fashion brand Chalks and Cheeks. And today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on how to take in your waist pants on tailored pants. Especially we have our tailored pants right here. We're going to be taking in 1.5 inches on the waist. That was the instructions. So we're taking in 1.5 inches. I'm going to be showing you how to get it done. If you are interested in seeing how to take in the waist on your other pants and things like that, this tutorial can help you. So let's get into it. So the first thing you need to do is locate the back of your pants. So the back side seam, which would be this here. If we're taking in 1.5 inches, which means that we're taking in 3/4 of an inch on each side. So you're going to be taking in 3/4 here and 3/4 here. We're going to be putting it together, and that's going to give us the 1.5 inches. 3/4 inches, taking in a 3/4 on both sides will actually not bring in the pants much. So it is an allowable amount to be able to take in on your waist. There reaches a point where taking in too much on your waist alters or warps the entire look of the pants. The pockets may start to come in a little bit too much. If your pockets are starting to come in like this, then that's too much being taken in. Or if your loops as well too don't match evenly on each side, that's too much being taken in. So we're going to go onto the wrong side, that's the inside of this pants, and we're going to have to take off this stitch line right here so that we can get underneath it. So I'm going to use my trusty seam ripper, and I'm just going to take off this stitch. You want to be careful of how you are ripping. Trust me, I have made this mistake already, and it was not even on the inside of a pant, it's actually on a waistcoat. And I nipped the entire fabric, and that was a disaster that I would never forget. So you want to just take your time when you are taking out threads, because you could damage the fabric, and if it is the fabric doesn't belong to you or the outfit don't belong to you, you can be in some serious trouble. So we're just going to take out as much as we can, because we want to be able to work with enough of the fabric here. So I'm going to be taking out more than I actually need, but it's just to allow me to be able to pull this out here and work with that. So as you can see here, we have our middle seam. This is the back seam, and we are going to be marking 3/4 inches on this side, and then we're going to be putting it together like this. So what I like to do is lay the pants flat on the table, lay the part I'm working with flat on the table like this, and I'm going to be measuring 3/4 of an inches on my measuring tape, and that's what we're going to be using. So I would measure from where the pants has been folded over to. I would measure from the start of that waist measurement or that waistline. So that is wherever the stitch is here. That is where I would start measuring from, and then I would put a pin to make sure that it lines up on the outside. So there we have our mark. You get a pin, and I'm putting the pin horizontally through that marking. As you can see, it is also through this marking as well. As you can see, it's also through this marking as well. And then we're going to just open it to see if they match, and they do. Now for me, one of the things, the key is to keep this in here, and I'm going to be running a stitch, just like a tack or back stitch right here, in order for it to stay. But before I do that, I'm going to measure out the rest of the garment. So we're going to do the 3/4 going back up to the waistband. there is my measurement. That's 3/4 all the way to the waistband. And we're going to just take our trusty ruler and we're going to just measure diagonally from the waistband straight down to wherever it meets up on the back crotch here, seam line, to just make sure that we are tapering it back into the seam line to give it a seamless finish. You don't want to take in too much on the back as well too, because remember the measurement is not ready to be taken in on the back seam. It's just the waistline. So, but at the same time, you do not want to have it looking jagged, so to speak. So I think that's a good diagonal line right there. I'm just gonna measure my ruler, and as you can see, we're back into the seam line. So when we are stitching, we're going straight back into the seam line to give it that seamless finish. Let's go to the machine. Like I said before, I am going to be tacking right here first to make sure that the lines match up. I'm going to rest my presser foot. Make sure your presser foot is on straight stitch. Many times I have been on the zigzag stitch and then I go to sew and we are zigzagging instead of straight stitching, and it's crazy. So make sure your presser foot is on the straight stitch on your desired length and width as well too before you start sewing. We're going to bring our presser foot down and we're going to just drop the needle directly into the seam there. I don't know if you can see that. As you can see, my needle is directly into the seam there, and I'm going to do a back tack. You go back and forth a few times just to make sure it's secured. You take your pin out and you cut the threads. Now we're going to turn it over, and now it's time for the moment of truth. Look at that. It lines up perfectly, and so now we know that no matter what we do, this is going to stay lined up, and then we can just sew the rest of the garment. So let's go. Make sure everything is flat before you stitch. We're going to start from the top of the waistband and we're going to work our way down. We're going to definitely back stitch again. And as you can see, we are back into that seam, back into the crotch seam, back into the crotch seam. So we're going to do a few back stitches right here so that we can close off this stitch. Cut your threads and then examine the garment. We're going to turn this over because the outside is more important than the inside. And we're going to look to see. The key is to make sure that it does not have a pucker or it makes it look like it was altered. The key is to make sure that your pants doesn't look like it was altered. And this doesn't look like it was altered. Look at that. Very smooth, clean finish. Okay, so the next part is that you have to take out your threads. You have to take out the original threading. What I like to do too as well is run a second stitch on the crotch line, because sometimes one stitch is not enough, especially with male tailored pants. They tend to come out quite a lot. They tend to rip, and it's because of that one stitch sometimes. That's why they do a chain stitch on the entire garment actually, to make sure that a chain stitch makes it very strong so that you don't have the risk of it tearing, but sometimes it happens. So I do like to run a second stitch on the same stitch I did to make sure that we are properly secured in the back there. I'm just taking out my threads. This is a chain stitch and it's supposed to be able to just pull. Ooh, yeah. We're getting to pull all the way down, and you're supposed to be able to do it again. Sometimes you get to do it and sometimes it says, no, I am not going to be working with you today. But a win is a win. So we got one. Again, take your time when you're seam ripping, because we be out here making some mistakes, some dread mistakes, things to just not ever sew again for. Okay, so I have removed all my dead thread. I'm double checking again to make sure that I did not, by mistake, cut any of the threads that I stitched this seam with. And since we're done with that, we can open up this like that. And you're gonna fold over, again, fold your waistband. And we're gonna be running a stitch right under the waistband. Right under there is where you're going to run the stitch. I prefer to run the stitch on the outside instead of the inside. If you want, you can change thread at this time and you can just use the white thread on the bottom of the bobbin, and then you use your collar pant thread on the top. I'm not going to do that, but you can if you would like to. So we're just going to run that stitch. If you look as well too, as you can see, the loops of the pants actually is not looking bad. It's not too close together or anything that we have to take them out. It has a fair distance still, so it does not look weird. Make sure everything is flat and open, and put it under your sewing machine and run that stitch. Now I want to run the stitch from wherever the stitch stopped on this side here. As you can see, again, my needle is directly underneath the waistband, and we're going to run that stitch right there. I've reached the loop. I do a small back stitch. I cut my threads, and then I continue after the loop with another back stitch. Taking my time, going through the back seam onto the next loop, small back stitch, cut my threads, do it again. Just realized that my machine decides to stop stitching because my bobbin thread is done. That's great. Okay, let's look at it closely. Look at that. Now it's okay if you don't get your stitches perfectly right under the waistband. That's totally fine as well too, if it's a little seen as well too. Especially if you're a beginner, do not beat up yourself about that. But this is the idea that we're getting. You want to give it a press as well too. I'm not going to be filming the pressing in this video, but you do want to give it a slight press. So as we zoom out, does it even look like it was touched? No. On the inside, however, we do have that different color thread, but that's totally fine. And so basically that is how you take in the waist of your pants. Pro tip, if it is these two loops come too close together, you do want to take out the loops and remeasure to make sure that it's balanced. Or if you want, you can just put one loop smack dab in the center there and that would help it as well too. But that's just a pro tip in case you know it does come too close together. But yeah, I think this looks really fine, and I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If it has helped you, don't forget to drop a comment, drop a like, or even subscribe to the channel, because I do more tutorials like these. If you want to see any tutorial, you want to see me do anything, of course you can comment in the comment section and let me know, and I will do that tutorial for you. And until next time, I will see you guys. Enjoy!